Hi.
Hello.
Good evening. Good evening.
Me and John Paganini, just a citizen who's been on Stewart Drive since 1999, and I got involved when the levy didn't pass, and I was just a concerned citizen about the safety in our city, and that's how I got involved in it, and it turned into a great experience, I think, for myself, and I assume everybody else that was involved in that committee, as we kind of joined forces and hammered out what we thought was a good strategy towards the next levy that's coming up. We understood now a lot more about what the police requirements are, the safety requirements are, the fire, and all of the equipment and necessary aspects of what it takes to actually run a safety services and fire department in the city of Concord. I certainly learned a lot. Much of that was from the people that were on the committee that just seemed enlightened with lots of background and history and experience and the numbers. So I think we all kind of grew together, and it was very democratic. And the whole experience was one where we came up to a conclusion that I think seems very community appropriate and friendly in a sense to help us move forward with a safer community ultimately. So my experience was just a great experience, and I was honored to be on this team of experts in a sense that really understood what was going on and what really needed to be happen. It was great to meet all the people like yourselves throughout the process, much less the fire department and the police department. So those are my comments. I think ultimately we have a strategy that was formulated based on a lot of different opinions and experience. And like you were saying, when things came together in 8 weeks, amazing things happened. And I think it was a pretty good result. And it just shows your I would say, experience in itself in bringing on a citizens advisory committee says a lot about the community, and that you invited the community to help structure and think about what really needs to happen for the betterment of Concord. So that's it. Anything else, Andy?
No, sir.
Okay.
Would you be willing to answer a couple questions? If we
Sure,
have to?
sure.
Well, first off, I want to say thank you, too, for being willing to participate, but actually to coming forward. You were one of a few people that were on the committee that came to us and expressed concern and said, we'd like to help.
Yeah.
So your concern in reaching out to us was the catalyst in the idea. So just one more demonstration of cooperativeness between the community and the
Sure.
elected officials. And I have a little bit of understanding. I mean, if looking through the report, you have multiple scenarios that you ran through. I know you got to meet with the sheriff's department and the fire department.
Yes.
It's easy to sit here and look at a report and easy to hear your remarks and say, well, we came up with something nice. There was debate. It took your group a while to come together. Could you talk a little bit about that for us? Because I think it'd be important for people to understand that it wasn't just a shake and bake, you did something, that you guys really worked through a lot of different ideas and competing opinions in that group, correct?
Yes, for sure. And my concern was certainly the safety, the police forces, and that. But after we talked about it for weeks and weeks, it seemed the best approach was to put together what the report is stating, and that is accomplishing both a fire and police solution that would work for the community best temporarily, at least for now. And as far as the process, yes, there was a lot of different scenarios. If we did this levy with this amount of monies, then what would that get us? Would it get? And so we went back and forth many times. And as I said, the people in the room really understood the levy numbers much better than I did. And I think that was the whole democratic approach to coming together as a group. So.
Okay.
Yeah,
We
just
looking
kind of
for
hop
more-
in there. It was really impressive to watch that group. I was kind of took the fly on the wall approach, just offering my insight whenever, maybe to confirm numbers, make sure we were on the same page. But, just to watch this group kind of cohesively come together, they were all over the place to start. Some people had different visions and it was just difficult, but we kind of brought everything together and knew what the end goal was. It was just, how do we get there, right? And so just watching this group come together as a team and really figure out what the best path forward was going to be was really impressive, because there were a lot of different options, multi-year strategies, and there was just a ton on the table. And to watch these guys deliberate, really go through the facts, do a ton of research was really impressive. And so I think he's almost underselling how much they were dedicated to finding the best possible solution, and how much work and how much effort that took. And so I can definitely attest to that. So thank you.
Yeah,
again.
good point.
How hard was it to come together? Maybe not to come together, because you talked about that, but when you look at the challenge of how to fund it, I mean, could you tell us a little bit more about? I mean, we're familiar with. I guess one of the things is if you could talk a little bit about the challenges of funding safety from the standpoint of. There's no easy answer to this. I mean, you guys looked at a lot of numbers and saw it. They're big dollars. There's big pieces to this puzzle. It's not something that just fits together simply.
Yeah, and we had to think about how many years do we look into the future. Certainly, that is an important factor. What do we need now immediately versus 5 years versus 10 years? Yeah, and you might have some thoughts on this as well, Jason, but we had to look at a lot of different scenarios, and it went to many, many years and much more levy, but I think ultimately our collaborative vision and decision-making was based on what is the right thing for the community today that we can accomplish. With a long-term vision, but yet a short-term goal to accomplish what we needed to. And as John was saying, and we did talk a lot about the numbers. There was people in the group who really had a good understanding of the numbers, and of course things like where does JED come into play and how that interacts. So you're probably asking for detail on that.
No,
Maybe, Jason, you have some thoughts on that yourself, but
I think that's a good. I mean, I think the other thought in my head is a bit about. I mean, there's the gas tank's empty. We're not sitting here saying, "Hey, this would be nice to do. This is a need to do. This is an emergency."
Sure.
We are at a spot where if we don't have more funding on top of the cuts that were made this year, there will be more cuts. There is no. And there was a lot of conversation out there that we're just padding fat budgets and so forth. And you can attest to the fact that's not the case.
Yes, Mr. McIntosh, and that, when I walked into that meeting, was absolutely an unknown to me. I felt that, we had this new fire department, wow, things are really good, but there was more to the story. And that became revealed and discussed, and we truly believe we came up with something we believe is the right thing for the community.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, what it shows for me is a group of you who have diverse backgrounds. I don't know if any of you even knew each other. You sort of had an idea, like you just mentioned, the fire station, we've got to have resources in place. And you do all this research and you figure out, like, this is really where we're at. And your concern and your commitment to the community and you being in the community representing all of your other neighbors is what's really important for me. Yeah. That it's not just us making a recommendation or Andy, that
Sure.
It's from you all out there after doing the research and coming together and exploring all the different options. To me, that says an awful lot. And I really commend you on this effort. I thought it was an outstanding report. I delved into it a few times. I learned a lot from you guys. And I really appreciate it. And I'm sure our residents will appreciate this as well.
I hope they do. I hope they see that the insight that you all had in bringing in a citizens advisory committee is the magic, right? because now we're all working together
Right.
for the betterment of the community. And hopefully the community will see that we did take everything into account, and we believe this is the right thing for the community, ultimately. So thank you, Mrs.
Yeah,
Oaken, for your comments.
I'd like to commend you, John, and the group also. I think it was an outstanding job and effort that you put forward. I was very impressed with the thoroughness of the report and how involved it was. It was enlightening, and like you said right now, I think this board historically, since we came into existence, we're stewards of the township's money, but we don't know it all. And, just like with Station 1, we held stakeholder meetings to try to get insight from, the community and moving that project forward. And this was just, one avenue as far as the Citizens Advisory Committee to sort of get, community involvement and maybe get some new insight and a different, fresh perspective on some different ideas that we couldn't think about. And there was a lot of fresh perspective and detailed in this report. And, I was, before this group came into play, I was really conflicted, how we were going to move forward and, bouncing other ideas off of each other and friends. And this was very clear. It was very well done. And it just shows how, we're committed to working with the community and working with, the residents here to do what's best for Concord, because that's our ultimate goal. We recognize, safety is a paramount function of any healthy community. And, we've got to get there together. And I think, your group working together did an outstanding job. I think this board has, looked outside the box. I mean, which is clearly evident by, going after the local government, fund and trying to renegotiate a formula that is more fair and that can better fit, the township, as well as looking at other financial revenue streams, at the state level and federal level to try to offset some of the costs that the township has. So it's just not primarily on each taxpayer within the township. So, I mean, clearly, the board has done a lot to think outside the box, and bringing in this group has really, it's proud. I think it's a proud moment for the township and a proud moment to have, community involvement and show us working together. So I'm very proud of what you guys did, and thank you for everything.
Yeah, thank you for saying that.
Thank you. I mean, the others touched on it, and I did want to say, it's very impressive, thorough, well-written. This isn't I think I said in the last meeting, between the report itself, some supporting background, and other things, I think we got like 40 pages of information from your group. It's not just somebody sat down and said, we got to put a levy on, let's figure out the best way to do it. I mean, there was a ton of thought put into this.
Right.
Just very detailed, well organized, and at least from my perspective, when you put a group together and say, I'm going to step away and want to hear what you think, and then you come back, I anticipated this was going to be the case, and your recommendation was kind of didn't fit where my head was, but that told me that you did the right thing, because I was going in a direction and said, hey, we're having a little bit of trouble sorting this out. Let's get a group involved, get some different opinions. And when it came out not how I expected, I was like, gee, maybe they did the right thing. Maybe the fact that they put something together in a recommendation that I didn't see is there's the value.
Yeah, I mean, they looked at so many different options and just the level of detail about the type of resident that lives here, and it really helped tie
That was
in.
eye-opening for all of us.
Right. And, it really tied in the ask, what, your recommendation is with, what is really the most important thing is investing in safety services for our community.
Yeah.
Right.
And the impact throughout that has.
Something else that impressed me was they looked at the history of the township. There's a lot of factual and empirical data in the report that shows a lot of the history of the township and where it was before and where we are now as far as safety and the operations within the township. So that was very impressive. Thank you.
Great exercise.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Honor
Thank you.
to-
I don't know if Mr. Shannon has anything
Thank you, too.
to say. Okay, thank you.
He's being humble. Thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Paganini. Okay, moving on to old business. Setting a public hearing for the tax